Alright, here's the bug list I've been running for the past couple days. Um, it is a kind of a mix of a mid-range control. Um, it does have a few threats. The reason why I think it's more of a control is because the amount of threats I have are pretty limited. Um, whereas I need to just control the board with my removal and these little walls here. And then once I can land a threat, try to keep the threat around long enough to win the game. We'll start off with the land base here. I'm running the full set of the shocks, and then 3 of each of the Scrylands that we have out for our colors right now. And then I'm running 8 basics. I'm running the Singleton Forest and 7 swamps. The reason for that number of basics is to help us in the very early game, that we're not shocking ourselves too much to land an early, well, not an early, but land a 2-drop or an Abrupt Decay or Golgari Charm if we need to. Even after sideboard, when I bring in Thoughtseize, it really hurts when you have to shock yourself to 16 to even just like look at their hand. So that's the reason for the 26 land and the 8 basics. Go over the creatures. I decided to run both the Sylvan Caryatid and the Omen Speaker. Caryatid obviously helps with our mana base. It's hard to remove because of the hexproof, and the 0/3 does help with the little Red Deck Wins creatures. Omen Speaker helps clean up the draws, and is awesome against the Red Deck Wins because it can take care of any of the X1 creatures that they may have. So these two, they act as little walls and can help us get into the mid game, where we can start landing some of our bigger threats without worrying about our life total too much. So moving on from those creatures, we move up to our threats here, and Aetherling is just awesome if you can get it on board and running. Most decks have trouble with it unless they have multiple removal in the hand. They're going to be 2 for 1ing, 3 for 1ing themselves just to get rid of the Aetherling, obviously. I'm not sure about the counts on these creatures yet. I might switch it up to 3 Reapers and 2 Demons. I just want to keep testing the Demon out, seeing how he is. I'm kind of iffy about the Demon. He is awesome if they can't remove it, but playing against like black decks or decks that do have a lot of removal, Desecration Demon doesn't do a whole lot. You land him, and yeah, he's an immediate threat, but he just gets taken out by almost everything. Doomblade can't hit it, I guess. But it is a 4-drop, 6/6 for 4, which is awesome, and has the blind. So if they can't deal with the Desecration Demon, it's huge. I love Reaper of the Wild. You can land it as a 4-drop against some of the aggro decks. Red Deck Wins can't really deal with it unless they're 2 for 1ing it with a burn, with either 2 burns or a chump block and a burn. And you can land it as a 5-drop if you wanted to either trade with a bigger creature, and then land it as a 6-drop if you need to use it as that threat against decks with a lot of removal. It's just exceeded all my expectations of what I first thought of the creature when I read it. It is a very, very good finisher. And so for my card draw here, I have 2 Underworld Connections, which has been doing really well for me. The life loss can sting a little bit, but if you can get a creature online with the whip, it does even itself out. Even the whip with an Omen Speaker can help your health with the Underworld Connections. So So this is my removal right here. Got 2 ultimate prices. I run them over Doomblade because of the abundance of mono black on the online Magic right now. They hit a ton of creatures. Even though Doomblade hits basically every creature except the black one, the abundance of black is just ridiculous right now. So I run the ultimate price in the main. I do have the Doomblades in the sideboard just in case. I run the Golgari Charm for every kind of enchantment that there is, really. Detention Sphere, Assemble a Legion, Underworld Connections. It even does help protect some of my creatures from a Supreme Verdict and whatnot, and can take out some of the X ones from Red Deck wins. Abrupt Decay is good for Red Deck wins and some aggro decks with the low converted mana cost creatures that they may have, and does help get rid of Underworld Connections. Mono black lands and Underworld Connections, they are very, very hard to beat if we can't get rid of it. Far and Away is a great card. The Away helps with so many different creatures, especially Blood Baron. Blood Baron is one of the hardest for us to deal with, and Away can definitely help with that. Far can get us an extra turn. It's kind of like a Fog, I guess, with the control decks. If we don't have the mana to spend for the whole 5 or even the 3, the Far can act as a Fog and get rid of a Blood Baron or big tokens or any creature that's a threat, really. And then it buys you a turn to either draw into a removal spell that will work, or if some people are running counter magic, it can help you draw into the counter magic, which is great. The Putrefy and Hero's Downfall counts I'm not too sure about. I'd probably run more Hero's Downfall if I could afford them right now. They're a great removal. They destroy every creature except the Blood Baron right now, I think. And getting rid of Planeswalkers is huge right now, especially Elspeth. And Elspeth is a big one to get rid of. Xenagos is starting to do some work for the red-green Devotion decks. He just adds so much mana, and it's very hard to deal with when they have just an abundance of mana to do anything they want. So I might up that to 3 if I get the chance to. Putrefy is a great removal spell. Again, it hits almost everything, and it can even get rid of some artifacts like the Whip or all the God artifacts, really. It gets rid of Piling Needle and stuff like that, and it's really, really useful. I only have 2 Jaces in here because, again, it's all I can really afford at the moment. He helps with the card draw. It's the main reason I use him. It's just for the card draw. And against Red Deck wins, he does help. The +1 does help a lot if you need to get if you need to buy some time. And the single pack rat, I'm not 100% sure about yet. Against some control decks, he's pretty useful. If they do board wipe, it's a little. It's hard to say. I'm not 100% sure on pack rat, because if they do like Supreme Verdict and you've thrown like 3 or 4 cards into your graveyard just to make rats, it's just a waste of opportunity. And but if you are holding like a Golgari Charm and you have all your rats, it's always leaving 2 mana up. But they're pretty nasty, and they can be hard to get rid of. Against Red Deck wins, the rats are a little slow. You might have to like put one out early and take a couple hits before you can actually start blocking them. So that's the main deck that I have right now. And Here's the sideboard. I'm running 3 Thoughtseize right now, just in the sideboard, just because right now we have so much self-damage with all the shocks and the underworld connections. I'm a little iffy about running the Thoughtseize main board. We already know what decks we really need to bring Thoughtseize in against. It's mostly the control decks and a little bit of the mid-range decks, and we just really want to disrupt like some of their main spells that can really hurt us, like Blood Baron, Elspeth, maybe Underworld Connections, that kind of thing. We already have a board, our main board, that can deal with those things, but the extra health is always nice to bring in. I have this Ratchet Bomb for a few things. The red deck wins, a couple enchantments. I can build it up to a Planeswalker if I need to. I got a couple more Pack Rats. I'm not sure if I like them yet. I run them against the mono blacks mostly because, in a sense, they have a very similar game plan. They want to get an Underworld Connections online and basically beat us with card advantage. They get an Underworld Connections online and a Pack Rat, they're going to consistently have a card to throw away while having cards in their hand to still combat. Miscutters against decks with a heavy blue influence, like some of the blue-white control and American control, mono blue as well. He really does some work against decks with a heavy blue. I can bring in a second Golgari Charm if I need to for more enchantment removal or a little bit more protection for my creatures. Gaze of Granite has been doing some awesome things. Even if it does take out some of your Almond Speakers or Caryatids, red deck wins will have more trouble building momentum than we will, because they pretty much try and puke their whole hand turn 2 or 3 onto the board, and so they start top decking most of the time. And if we can land one of these turn 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, maybe depending on how many Sylvans we can get out, we pretty much just crush them, because once we land that, it's going to be turn 4, 5, 6, like I said, and we can start landing Desecration Demons and Reapers and Aetherlings, and they really can't catch up from it. I have one Erebos that I bring in against the mono black, just so they can't get that life advantage on me. It does help against the control decks as well that are running Sphinx's Revelation. They do get the card advantage, but they're not gaining that life, which sometimes is pretty important for them, because they do run down to like 5 to 10 life before they can stabilize, and without that life gain from the Sphinx, they do have trouble stabilizing. I have 2 Doomblaze in here for extra removal against non-black creature decks. I try to use them usually against like red-green devotion decks. I try to take out their mana dorks as much as possible, so they just can't get into the devotion they need to get all that crazy amounts of mana working. Contaminated Grounds is coming in for those Nykthos as well. I haven't tested it a whole lot yet, but hopefully it does some good things. So that's the build I'm running with right now. Like I said, it does look a little bit more mid-range, but it's definitely more control deck. Just trying to control their board until we can land one of these little threats, and yeah, so that's the build I'm running with for right now.